This is a continuation of the color mode topic. Make sure you have watched or watched next the RGB video about the RGB color mode explained. In this video, we're going to be using a file called color mode-CMYK explained.psd, again with PSD being a Photoshop document. So be kind of a first overview or introduction if you haven't seen Photoshop. I used Photoshop to create these two files for the RGB and CMYK. So the CMYK is a little different than the RGB color mode. Keep in mind there's lots of different color modes in here in the industry for print and for digital. This course we're focusing on the RGB and the CMYK color modes. CMYK is based on ink, and as I mentioned in the RGB video, the RGB and CMYK are opposite color modes. So CMYK being based on ink, we start with the color white. Why? Because most of the time when you print something, you know, you're printing it on, you know, a white piece of paper. So we start with white. It is a subtractive process, a color process to get a color. And again, it's opposite of RGB. So when we look at how we converge and mix our colors together, instead of using flashlights in here, imagine each one of these circles is a dot of color. Just like your printers at home, when they print, they drop, it's a drop of ink that falls onto the page. So instead of flashlights here, think in your mind that these are drops of color on paper. So much like we did in the other video, when you converge these together and you cross and they cross paths, what color are you going to get when you intersect them? So this is cyan, this is magenta, and this is yellow. Cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay, so again, I want you to think that RGB, it's a 3-color color process. CMYK, of course, is a 4-color color process, and here we're going to explain why that is. So I take cyan and magenta and I cross them, and it might be hard to see, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So when I cross them, I get blue. As I mentioned in the other video, they're opposite color modes, so watch what happens here. So I take my yellow and I intersect them with all my other 2 colors. So looking at this on the outside, I have cyan, magenta, and yellow, which is our colors for the print side based on ink. On the inner circle, I get my RGB, red, green, and blue. So that's where you see that they're the opposite color modes. When I mix my colors with CMYK, I get my RGB. When I mix my RGB, I get my CMYK. So they're in a sense intertwined. So much like we saw with our RGB, we mixed all 3 of those colors together, and in the middle we came up with white. We started with black. CMYK, again opposite, I start with white, I mix them, and in the middle the color theory says I should get black. But do I? No, you don't. And that's why they call it a color theory. It works great when we do it in light. It works very well, but when we apply that same process and that same method to our inks don't mix the same way light does. So in the middle, you actually get a very, very mucky brown color, very, very dark brown. That's why with our color process with ink, we have to include, we don't really add because it meshes with the additive and subtractive color modes. So we include the color black. And that's why our CMYK is a 4-color color process, because the theory of mixing them all together and what I want in the middle should be black, but it's not. I have to add another ink color, black. So you noticed here with RGB, we call it red, green, blue. So R for red, G for green, B for blue, pretty basic. But the reason I point that out is when we get to CMYK, I have C for cyan, M for magenta, Y for yellow. It's always the first letter of the color. But if I do that with black, B for black, it kind of throws it all into confusion because you're like, wait, I thought that was blue. So they try to have it cross, modes to be consistent. So what they use instead is K for black. When you get more into your design classes, they'll talk to you about K being a key color. But that's more so in the print production because CMYK is for print. So we tend to think black K is the last letter, so we use K to denote black. Yes, but when you dive deeper into your color theory and your color processes, you'll learn K is actually for key color. So again, make sure you please watch the RGB video. Keep in mind, again, at a high level, CMYK is for print. CMYK, we start with white. CMYK is based on ink. CMYK is subtractive. So as usual, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Always happy to get back to you. No suffering in silence. No struggling for 5 or 6 hours on your own. Send me an email as soon as you have that question, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks, guys, for watching the video. We'll see you in the next one.